Hi, it's 7 p.m. Pacific Daylight Saving Time. I'll read some more of The Adventures of Rebazar Tarz. New Book 4 by Dwayne the Great Writer. All of us climbed on board and the kids began asking me about the earth and the surf in Huntington Beach. I had their attention during the ride, which took less than 60 seconds, because this astral SUV flew instantly to the giant astral ocean. All the kids jumped from the vehicle and ran over to the water as I stood and looked all around. This place is absolutely so magnificent, I thought. There are huge grassy areas like giant parks with the most lavish palms that are not seen on the earth. Some of them are hundreds of feet high. The sand is a golden color and stretches as far as the eye can see along the sublime coastline where the turquoise water meets the shore. The surf at this place is totally excellent. There are many peaks all over the place and a long point break that goes out so far that I could not even see the beginning of the waves coming in. At this time, the surf looked to be about as high as me. There were not a lot of people in the water, which really surprised me. I walked down to the water with RT and Jot, along with his guards. I watched as the kids got their little boogie boards and surfboards out and went into the water. Then Serena came up to me and asked, "Are you coming in with us, Dwayne?" "Well, I can get in the water with you, but I don't have a board," I said as I smiled at her cute little face. "Oh, yes you do, Sir Dwayne. Look what is coming for you," she said as she pointed in back of me. I turned to see Yabble and Gopal Das carrying what looked to be my earthly board, blue stripes and all. They came right over to me and laughed. "It takes both of us to carry this thing, Sonny," said Yabble as he handed me the board and laughed with Gopal. I felt very humbled by all that was happening. I thanked them and took the board and went down to the water's edge. The board was already waxed and ready, and then I realized I needed a suit instead of my clothes. Rebazar laughed and said, "When you did the Green Lantern routine, there is something that stayed with you. Remove your pants and you will see." I reluctantly took off my pants to find that I was wearing a swimming suit. Okay, I thought, I can do this. I removed my shirt and then grabbed the board and walked into the water with the kids. Then Yabble yelled to me, "Hey, Sonny, watch for the big outside one." Huh, I thought as I waved to him. Okay, whatever. All the kids paddled out with me and I helped them pay attention to the waves and how to catch them better. After surfing for a while, I heard a group of people on the shore yell, "Outside!" I did an immediate flashback to the time when I was in the real side of Huntington Beach and heard the same voices and the same call. I looked on the shore and there were suddenly hundreds of people waving as I watched them motion to me. I hesitated for a moment, then came to my senses and felt the need to quickly paddle outside. I paddled as fast as I could, and as I was moving through the water, a pair of dolphins began to appear. One on one side of me. They moved straight alongside and up and down in the water, making their funny sounds as they swam with me. I continually looked to the horizon, but I didn't see anything. I still felt the urge to paddle as fast as I could, and so I did, along with the dolphins at my side. Suddenly, I did see something along the horizon. At first, I couldn't make out the distance, so I just kept going. Very quickly, the outside set was building. Then I realized that it was getting bigger and bigger. It was a giant peak of a wave that had a long left and right to it. I was near the center and for a moment wondered which way to go. Then an impression came to go left, which would be like going north. I kept paddling fast and finally positioned myself in the right spot. As I approached the wave, I could tell that it was almost the size of the fifth sound wave I took when Miss Kathy was on the beach. For a brief moment, I looked back at the shore, which I could no longer see. The two dolphins shot out of the water in front of me and went into the huge wave while I churned my board and simply pushed it into the wave. I immediately got the speed I needed and stood up. What a ride! I felt like I was going 100 miles an hour. I gradually went to the bottom at kind of an angle, and then quickly churned and came about halfway up the face of the wave. I was in a near-perfect trim position as the giant cylinder of beautiful water shot over my head. The wave was so huge that standing in the giant tube was rather easy. I kept going for the longest time and then cut back and continued on until the size of the wave diminished the closer I got to the shore. I was soon near the shoreline where all the kids were riding the little waves. They were yelling and cheering me on. I kicked out of the wave beside them and sat on my board. "That was great, Sir Dwayne," said Serena, as all the kids paddled over to us and giggled. "Thank you, young miss. It was something I did not expect," I said as I laughed with the kids. "Look, Sir Dwayne, the real universal guides. They are all along the shore. They were the ones that yelled to you," she said as she pointed. Of course, I should have known. Yes, I did recognize the voices from my past experiences when I took the big hit with my first attempt at the real position. I told the kids I would meet them on shore, and then I paddled in. Rebazar, Yabel, and Gopal were standing in the foreground, and then Miss Kathy appeared from behind them as I walked up on the sand. "Hello, Dwayne, you did it again. The wave is your now adventure with what you are doing," she said to me as she took my hand and stood by me. "Miss Kathy, as usual, you are everywhere," I said. "Ha ha, I know. Gopal brought me here in the white limo again. He said that you and Rebazar were going to stop in this realm and meet the children. You are going on another adventure like no other. Harry will be glad to see you, and this time he will listen to you and stop playing around with all those silly psychic forces," she said as she smiled. Then the children came out of the water and stood around us. "Sir Dwayne, we have to get back to the new school. Our real guide will be teaching us how to write and draw like you do. Will we see you again?" asked Miss Serena. "Of course, young miss. After our rescue, I'm sure that we will have time to stop by again, and thank you for asking," I said as the children went over to the vehicle. Kathy gave me a hug and said, "I will see you soon, Dwayne." "Bye for now," I said as I went to the Astral SUV and sat with the kids. There was an area in the vehicle, and I put my clothes back on. We immediately arrived back at the school, and all of us went over to the building. I said goodbye to the children as they went inside. Thank you again, Sir Rebazar and Sir Gawain, for being so patient with me all these years. I see the light now and will direct all the God worshippers to the real guides and the is, said Jot as he shook our hands. R.T. and I soon left and returned to the ship. That was very interesting. For millions of years, this God has ruled and persuaded people into the fallacies of godliness, and now he finally sees the real light. If only more would see what is real. Everyone would have a lot of fun, I said as we boarded the saucer again. As we sat down and buckled ourselves in, R.T. said, "Something isn't quite right here, and so we shall see. The astral God seemed so willing for us to continue, it would seem as though he is playing both sides. Know that he will not give up his position to have a better life, because then he will be at the mercy of his brother. There are very few that will take on the task of real freedom, because they will not totally align themselves with the is over their personal desires to have and control. I suspect there is an utter ulterior motive behind him. He reminds me of Gerald and how we gave him the opportunity to have the real position and then to succeed further along when you were supposed to manage the corporation. Gerald would have actually done better in the long run by giving you the corporation and working with you to expand the awareness of the membership, but he didn't want to give up his wanting of what he had. He didn't see that we had set up his position for him and that Crony was a test that he could have handled. But he chose not to. Jot is in the same position with his brother. And so by seeing all of this, here is the lesson for so many to learn from. I can really relate to all of this, sir. I love this learning process and to be able to see the objectiveness of it. I would like Heather to once again understand what I am doing, but that is a different adventure altogether, I said, as I sat back and looked at the astral mountain of light as the saucer lifted up and flew into the seemingly endless sky. Her desire to have and control is very strong. At this time she is not willing to give her will and imagination back to the is. And so if she persists until her time is done, she will be returning with all her family in future lifetimes unconsciously, said R.T. I knew what he was saying, and I was detached from Heather and what she is deciding. I love her dearly, and at the same time I respect her life as she chooses it to be. After all that I have been through in this lifetime, I am very grateful to have come through the roughness I have put myself through. I am now having the best time of my life. I feel the same way about my daughter and former wife. They have the awareness to go further this time around, but it is up to them, and so I like just being their friend. We continued through the vast system of levels and worlds until we finally came to our next destination. We were at the astral station, where we would leave our emotional bodies for safekeeping. This place was a lot bigger than the last station. As we entered, there were more guards that didn't look as friendly. I followed R.T. as he spoke with the caretaker, and we went over to the cylinders to step inside. When I removed myself from my second body, I could feel a real relief of the emotional attachment to the thing. It is a nice feeling, isn't it, Dwayne, to let go of all the stuff the emotions get into, said R.T. It sure is, sir. I would like to be without any of these bodies that I carry, I said. To operate in the mental realm, we will need to keep the mind in etheric bodies, said RT as I followed him back to the saucer. Then I had a thought. Can we really trust these body stations to take care of our bodies? I asked. Somewhat, Dwayne. These places are similar to those on the earth, and the inhabitants here have free will also. Many of them do mean well, but they are under the influence of the regulatory control of the dualistic forces, and so we will have to take our chances, said Rebazar as we boarded the ship again. We were soon in the air and moving so fast that it seemed as though we were standing still. I looked over the entire journey so far and wondered about the outcome of all of this. On Earth, most people have the impression that good will prevail over bad or evil, but this is not always true, because the dark side wants to have total control and rule everyone as their slave in the first 3 levels. Besides, it plays both sides. It is all so uncanny how all of what everyone is going through. It is all based upon the creativeness and agreement to the collective forces that exist in the nothingness of space. And so as man creates his environment, he actually creates time itself and elaborates upon it until he sees nothing but the configurations and distortions of what he has manufactured. His assumption of time that does not exist actually holds him to the sequence of events that he has tied his idea of time into, thus mainly agreeing to and forming a past that can never be resolved, but yet he is always trying to resolve it. Time now becomes the controller of his destiny, which is actually the ploy of the deceptors for mankind to accept time as a reality and not just a figment. The human person has a very difficult time seeing what is taking place with their life. Most of the lower world systems and lifestyles are based upon an invented past, which are really events that have taken place in the ever-present now. Most people argue about what has taken place already instead of making sense of what is actually occurring in the present moment. Then there is the decision to invent a future that will soon become the past and be argued about and dissected also. This is how the Kalam God works with the influence that has been created and agreed upon over the span of illusionary time while occupying the nothingness of what appears to be space. I wanted to write down more of what I perceived, but we were coming to our final destination, and so I sat back and resumed the adventure. I will continue to read some of The Adventures of Rebazar Tarz, New Book 4 by Dwayne the Great Writer, tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Pacific Daylight Saving Time. See ya.